My son slapped me in his kitchen and then took his wife out to dinner. While my cheek was swelling, they were laughing in a car that cost more than my old apartment. That same night, I made 3 quiet phone calls, because if they wanted to treat me like a monthly bill, I decided it was time to collect. And by morning, they were the ones struggling to breathe. Before I tell you how it all unfolded, I'd be grateful if you'd subscribe and tell me where you're listening from. I'm 74 now, and every story I share carries a truth I had to learn the hard way. Your support, it means more than you know. I used to wake up before the sun. Old habits don't fade easily. Even now, my eyes open at 5:12 a.m. No alarm, just memory. I slip my feet into worn slippers, walk slowly to the kitchen, heat water for tea. I open the back door just a crack. Let the morning air touch my face. I've always loved that quiet. Birdsong before traffic. Light before noise. Ryan used to love mornings too. When he was small, he'd sit at the table in footed pajamas, legs swinging, asking questions about everything. Why is the sky pink? Why do ants carry crumbs? Why do grown-ups look tired? I always had answers. Or, at least, I tried to. Back then it was just the two of us. His father left when Ryan was 8. 1 suitcase. 1 quiet apology. And then nothing. After that, I worked double shifts. Hospital laundry during the day. Bookkeeping at night. My hands smelt like bleach and ink. But Ryan never missed a field trip. Never wore shoes that didn't fit. I kept a jar in the pantry. Behind the flour tin, $20 at a time. Sometimes 10. Sometimes 5. College money. I skipped vacations. Skipped new coats. Skipped doctor visits I probably needed. But Ryan went to school in pressed shirts. With lunches that didn't embarrass him. One winter, the heat went out. We slept in the living room under 3 blankets. He thought it was an adventure. I let him think that. Years pass quickly after hardship. They blur into pride. Ryan grew tall, handsome, ambitious, finance degree, corporate job, big house in a Cleveland suburb, white shutters, porch swing no one ever used. I was proud, quietly proud. Then came the cough. At first, I blamed age, cold air, dust. But the doctor's expression changed, and so did mine. Chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, progressive, manageable, but expensive. I stopped working. The bills didn't. My apartment rent stayed steady. My savings did not. I stretched every dollar. Soup for dinner. Lights off early. Medication every other day instead of daily. Eventually, pride becomes heavier than fear. I called Ryan. There was a long pause on the line. Then he said, "Let me talk to Brianna." 3 hours later. I had a guest room. That's what they called it. The guest room. I moved in with 2 suitcases and a photo of Ryan at graduation. The house was beautiful. Cold floors, bright walls, everything coordinated. Brianna greeted me in white jeans. Perfect hair, a polite smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "We'll need $450 a month," she said gently. "For household expenses, $450. From $1,200. I nodded anyway. I told myself it was temporary. I told myself family helps family. I folded their towels. Cooked on Tuesdays. Wiped counters that were already clean. I stayed upstairs mostly. Out of sight. Ryan kissed Brianna every evening at 6. Scrolled his phone while she talked. Rarely looked at me. Sometimes I'd start a sentence. "Ryan, do you remember? That's nice, Mom." That was usually the end of it. Still, I held on to small comforts. The way sunlight hit the staircase at 4 p.m. The hum of the dishwasher. The cardinals outside my window. I told myself it was enough, Peace doesn't announce when it's leaving. It just thins out, quietly. And I didn't know it then. But that thin silence in that bright, expensive house was about to shatter. But that peace was about to end. It happened on a Thursday. I remember because the trash goes out on Thursdays. I had just tied the bag and left it by the door. My chest felt tight that afternoon. The air seemed heavier than usual. Brianna stood in the kitchen, one hand on her hip, a cigarette between her fingers. The smoke drifted toward me. Slow, unbothered. Could you maybe open a window? I asked. Softly, carefully. She didn't look at me. It's winter, she said. I'm just having trouble breathing. She inhaled again. Exhaled toward the ceiling. It's my house, Evelyn. The cough came fast. Sharp. Deep. I grabbed the counter to steady myself. Please, I whispered. Just outside. That's when Ryan walked in, loosening his tie, already irritated. What now? He asked. Brianna answered before I could. She's complaining again. I tried to speak. I just asked if... Enough. His voice cracked through the room. I froze. He crossed the kitchen in 3 strides. His face flushed, jaw tight. You're always sick, always needing something. The words hit first, then his hand did. His palm struck my cheek. Sharp, hot, fast. My head snapped sideways. The room blurred. I tasted blood. For a moment, I thought my body had imagined it. Ryan? My son? The boy who once cried because he scraped his knee. I lifted my hand to my face. It was already swelling. Brianna laughed. Not loudly. Just a quiet, satisfied sound. Maybe now you'll stop, Ryan muttered. Stop what? Breathing? They left 20 minutes later. Dinner reservations. Wine somewhere expensive. The house fell silent, except for my breathing. Ragged. Uneven. I sat on the edge of the bed in that white guest room. Touched the bruise forming under my skin. I didn't cry. That surprised me. I expected tears. Anger. Something loud. Instead, I felt still, like something inside me had quietly shut a door. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was the memory that followed. Ryan, at 5. Clutching my hand while crossing the street. Ryan at 10. Crying when his father left. I'll never leave you, Mom, he had promised. And I had believed him. I stood slowly, walked to the mirror. The handprint was already darkening. Clear. Defined. Evidence. I took a photo. Then I sat at the small desk by the window. Opened my phone. My contacts list felt heavier than usual. Daniel Park. Attorney. I had helped him 20 years ago. When his wife left, when he felt like he had nothing left, he answered on the second ring. Evelyn, I need help. He didn't ask unnecessary questions. Don't change anything, he said. I'll be there in the morning. I made 2 more calls. Monica Reyes, investigative journalist, old friend, and Adrian Cole, Ryan's former college roommate, now a forensic accountant. By the time I ended the 3rd call, their car pulled back into the driveway. Laughter echoed through the garage. I wiped my face, turned off the light, lay down without closing my eyes. I didn't raise my voice, but something inside me went very, very quiet. And in that silence, I decided I would not stay silent. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, counting the cracks. 23. I knew each one by shape. My cheek pulsed with every heartbeat. A dull reminder. Not just of pain, but of truth. Downstairs, I heard them laughing. Water running. Cabinet doors closing. Life continuing. As if nothing had happened. I folded my cardigan neatly over the chair. Smoothed the sleeves twice. Small movements to steady my hands. I remembered another night. Ryan was 12, burning with fever. I sat beside his bed with a cool cloth, changed it every 20 minutes, stayed awake until sunrise. He mumbled in his sleep, "Don't go." I never did. Somewhere between then and now, he had. The next morning, the bruise was purple. Clear outlines of fingers. I took another photo, added it to the folder. At breakfast, no one mentioned it. Ryan scrolled his phone. Brianna stirred her coffee. I watched the steam rise from my mug. No apology. No acknowledgement. That silence weighed more than the slap. The days after felt longer. Colder. I stayed upstairs most of the time. Showered twice a day. Used extra soap. Brianna once muttered something about old people's smells. I scrubbed harder after that. Sometimes I caught my reflection in the mirror, and I looked smaller. That frightened me. Not the bruise. Not the coughing, the shrinking. I stopped asking Ryan for rides to therapy. Took the bus instead. 40 minutes standing some days. Trying not to cough. Trying not to faint. At night, I opened old photo albums. Ryan in a Halloween costume. Ryan holding his first paycheck. Ryan hugging me after graduation. I ran my thumb over those glossy pages. I didn't feel angry. I just felt done, pretending. Some nights, I whispered his name, not in rage, in disbelief. How does love become this? How does sacrifice turn into inconvenience? One evening, I stood in the kitchen doorway. They were eating takeout at the island, laughing at something on a screen. I wasn't invited to sit. I picked up Brianna's scarf from the back of a chair, folded it carefully, left it on the porch rail, a small kindness, a small goodbye I hadn't yet admitted. The house felt tighter each day, but something inside me was expanding, not fury, clarity. I began organizing receipts, scrolling through bank statements, highlighting dates, 450 each month, plus extra fees. It added up quickly. I noticed how my medication purchases increased after moving in, how stress worsened my breathing, how smoke lingered in fabric. I started writing everything down. Dates, exact phrases, amounts. Maybe now you'll stop. I wrote that one twice. Midnight came and went. Many times. I stopped counting ceiling cracks. Started counting options. And if you're still listening, thank you. Stories like this remind me. Patience isn't weakness. It's quiet strength. I wasn't plotting in anger. I was gathering truth. Truth takes time. One evening, I packed a suitcase halfway, then unpacked it. I wasn't ready to leave just yet, not without understanding something first. I wanted to know if they would notice. I was fading. They didn't. That realization didn't break me. It steadied me. I began to think, very carefully. The morning after, I decided. I felt different. Not furious. Not dramatic. Focused. I made my bed with careful corners. Smoothed the blanket twice. Then I sat at the small desk by the window. Opened a fresh notebook. At the top of the page, I wrote the title. My son charged me rent. While I was dying, so I let the truth collect interest. I underlined it once. Truth collects slowly. But it compounds. I listed everything. Dates of payments. Copies of checks. Bank transfers. $450 each month. $75 for groceries. Extra for utilities, from $1,200. The math wasn't complicated. It was cold. Then I added medical records. Doctor notes about smoke exposure. Pulmonary test results. I photographed the broken window lock in my room. The mold in the half bath I was assigned. The ashtray on the kitchen counter. No theatrics, just Facts. Daniel called that afternoon. I'll be there tomorrow at 9, he said. Bring everything, Monica texted shortly after. Are you ready for this? Yes. No hesitation. Adrian emailed financial breakdowns that evening. They make more in a month than you live on in a year, he wrote. I didn't feel shock. I felt confirmation. That night at dinner, I sat quietly at the island. Ryan talked about a merger. Brianna described a spa appointment. I passed the salt, listened, watched. They didn't notice the shift. Silence becomes powerful when chosen. Later in my room, I printed everything, organized it by month, placed the photographs on top. The last image was my cheek, purple, defined, evidence. The bruise was fading, but the record would not. The next morning, I wore the blue cardigan Ryan once gave me for Christmas. It felt fitting. At breakfast, I moved normally, poured coffee, sat down. Ryan glanced at me. You okay? Yes, and I meant it. At exactly 9, the doorbell rang. Ryan frowned. Expecting someone? I stood slowly. Yes. Daniel entered first. Calm. Professional. Behind him, Monica with a camera bag. And a county investigator with a badge. Ryan's face drained of colour. Brianna tightened her grip on her mug. Daniel placed his briefcase on the table. Opened it carefully. Mr. Thompson, Mrs. Thompson, we're here regarding allegations of financial exploitation and elder abuse. The words settled heavily in the air. Monica didn't speak. She observed. The investigator asked to see my room. I led her upstairs, showed her the mould, the broken lock, the receipts, no raised voices, just truth. Back downstairs, Daniel spread the financial records across the counter. Mrs. Harper has paid $5,400 over 12 months, he said evenly. Ryan swallowed. That's fair rent. For a mother on disability. Daniel replied softly. Silence. Monica lifted her camera. Clicked once, not of me, of the documents. Adrian arrived minutes later. He laid out their income statements. Assets. Luxury purchases. The contrast was unmistakable. Ryan finally sat down, hands covering his face. I didn't think. No, I said quietly. You didn't. There was no shouting. Only consequences unfolding. The investigator documented everything. Daniel outlined next steps. Restitution. Medical compensation. Restraining order. Ryan looked at me. Mum. I met his eyes. I let the truth collect interest, I said softly. He understood. Brianna started to speak. Daniel raised a hand. Save it for the settlement. The house felt smaller that morning, not because of walls, because of exposure. They had built their comfort on my silence. And silence, once broken, echoes. By noon, draft agreements were written. By afternoon, reputations had cracks. By evening, I was packing again. 2 suitcases. Same as before. But lighter, not in weight, in burden. I paused at the doorway, looked once more at the white walls. They had no idea that silence can build walls stronger than words. The stage was set. All I had to do was wait. 3 days later, we met at Daniel's office. Neutral ground. Polished floors. Soft light filtering through tall windows. No raised voices. No slammed doors. Just papers. And truth. Ryan sat across from me. Suit pressed, but wrinkled at the cuffs. Eyes tired. Avoiding mine. Brianna sat beside him. Arms folded tight. Jaw set. Daniel reviewed the settlement in a steady voice. Full repayment of every dollar I had given them. Coverage of past and future medical costs. Mandatory elder sensitivity training. A formal public acknowledgement. A permanent restraining order. And the scholarship fund, $5,000 a year, for caregivers supporting aging parents. Ryan's pen hovered over the signature line. He looked at me then. Is this really necessary? I folded my hands gently on the table. Yes, no anger, no trembling, just certainty. He signed. The scratch of ink across paper felt louder than the slap ever had. Brianna signed next. She didn't look at me. Monica's article ran that Sunday. It wasn't cruel. It was factual. A story about quiet exploitation. Inside beautiful homes. No dramatic headlines. Just truth, laid out plainly. Within a week, Ryan's firm requested his resignation. Brianna's professional license was suspended pending review. Consequences, not revenge, just gravity returning to its place. I moved into a small apartment. Daniel helped arrange. 1 bedroom, simple kitchen, sunlight pouring through honest windows. The first night there, I slept deeply. No smoke, no tension, just air. Weeks passed. One afternoon, the doorbell rang. Ryan stood outside. Thinner, older somehow. Eyes rimmed red. I opened the door just a few inches. Chain still latched. "Mom," he said quietly. The word sounded fragile. "I'm sorry. No excuses. No blame shifting. Just 2 words." He held out an envelope. "I want you to have this. I didn't take it. I don't need your money," I said gently. His shoulders sagged. "I lost everything." I nodded slowly. "I lost something too," I replied. Silence stretched between us. He looked smaller than I remembered. "I don't expect forgiveness," he whispered. "I don't offer it easily," I answered. "But I hope you become better." He nodded. Tears visible now. "I will." I believed he meant it. But belief doesn't rebuild trust. He set the envelope on the doormat, stepped back. "I love you, Mom." I held his gaze. "Love without respect isn't love," I said softly. He flinched. Then he turned and walked away. I watched from the window as his car disappeared down the street. Then I closed the door, locked it, left the envelope where it was. The next day, Adrian returned it on my behalf. Some things you don't reclaim, you release them. That evening, I sat by my window. Sunset spilled orange across the walls. For the first time in months, my breathing felt steady. And in that quiet, I finally felt free. Sometimes, the loudest moment in life is when you say nothing at all. It's been a few months now. The bruise faded quickly. But the lesson stayed. Some mornings, I sit by the window, with a cup of tea warming my hands. Sunlight stretches across the floor. Dust floats gently in the air. And I think about that kitchen, the smoke, the slap, the silence after. I don't replay it with anger anymore. I replay it with clarity. For a long time, I believed sacrifice guaranteed love. That giving everything meant you would be protected in return. I was wrong. Love without respect isn't love. It's comfort. It's entitlement. It's slow erosion disguised as family. When my son charged me rent while I was dying, I questioned myself. Was I too demanding? Too fragile? Too much? But I wasn't. I was simply quiet for too long. And when I finally spoke, I didn't shout. I didn't curse. I let the truth collect interest. Truth doesn't rush. It doesn't slam doors. It gathers. It waits. It compounds. And when it arrives, it doesn't scream. It settles everything. I don't hate Ryan. That surprises people. I don't wish him suffering. I wish him growth. Because redemption isn't mine to hand out. It's his to earn. What I earned was peace. Peace in a small apartment filled with sunlight. Peace in breathing clean air. peace in knowing I didn't shrink to survive. Justice isn't always dramatic. Sometimes it's simple. Sleeping through the night, drinking coffee without tension, looking in the mirror and recognizing yourself again. If you ever find yourself in a place where your kindness is mistaken for weakness, remember this: patience is not submission, silence is not surrender, and respect, once lost, can be reclaimed. If you wait for the right moment, maybe justice isn't loud or fast. Maybe it's simply being able to sleep in peace again. If you were in my place, would you have stayed quiet? Or would you have let the truth collect interest too? Tell me in the comments. And if this story meant something to you, stay with us for the next one.